This is all publicity. Tinubu to governors, it's time for governance. 75 senators elect backing Akpabio, says Ndume. Returnee students from Sudan get conditions for admission. Okay, which story are we starting with?
Okay, so Ali Ndume is the DG of Akpabio Barrel campaign. I took the story, I think it was yesterday or a few days ago, where I was saying that some senators said that they were not going to support Akpabio because of his stance and some of the things that he said before about the National Assembly. But Ndume was on a TV program and he has assured, he's assuring everyone that Akpabio is definitely the one who is going to take over as Senate President. He said already there are 75 senators that have signed the candidature of Senator Akpabio. He says, yes, he acknowledges that there are some people who are not on board yet, but very soon, that they're speaking with them, and he's very sure that, they would join, the Akpabio train. He says all advantages are on our side. We have the support of the party. 2, we have the support of the president, and 3, we have the support of most of the senators, which is most important. And he was asked if Tinubu could change his mind on Akpabio, and he says that Tinubu is not known to be that sort of person. He's a sort of person that once he gives his word, that he doesn't change it. He talked about how he once wanted to run for Senate President as well, and Tinubu said, no, I've given my support to Lawan, and that is how he stood. And he knows that since Tinubu has given his support to Akpabio, it will happen. And then he also said, really, to be fair, it should go to the South, and definitely the South-South. And Akpabio is the most, politically, he's the highest, from that region, so he should go to him.
Okay, so the president had a meeting with the Nigeria Governors Forum where he spoke to all of them, and it was an interesting meeting because, according to the Director of Information at the State House, Abiodun Oladunjoye, he said that the president was very clear on his statement. He said poverty is not hereditary. It's from the society. Our position is to eliminate poverty. So he was talking to all the governors from all the various parties. He said we must set aside partisan politics. We are here to deliberate about Nigeria and nation building. We are family occupying one house, sleeping in different rooms. That's like the party. He said if we see it that way, we push forward, we'll get our people out of poverty. A determined mind is a fertile ground for living results. And he said quite a number of things. He said that we have managed ourselves very well, that this democracy must be properly nurtured to be able for us to get the dividends of this democracy. So it's quite refreshing to hear a leader begin to remind us that, listen, poverty is something we have a duty to eliminate. And I'm happy that the governors are working together, and he has tried to show some kind of leadership strategy to help see what they can do to help Nigeria out of this.
So I took a story, lawyers seek restructuring, devolution of powers to states. They said eminent legal practitioners called on the restructuring of the country in a way that more powers will be devolved to the states than what obtains currently. So the lawyers included Mazi Afam Osigwe, SAN, Isiaka Olagunju, SAN, chairman of Egbe Amofin, Dr. Babatunde Ajibade, SAN, Chukwuka Ikwuazom, SAN, and Olusegun Fabumi, SAN. They spoke yesterday in Ikorodu at the 16th Chief Babatunde Olushola Benson, SAN Annual Memorial Lecture titled The 1999 Constitution, Restructuring and True Federalism. And while Osigwe was delivering his speech, he said that states should be allowed to have more authority over their affairs, while the federal government should, recognize the imperativeness of devolving more powers to the states. All parts of Nigeria must be made to understand that to prevent strife, civil disturbances, secession, and preserve the union, restructuring is the most peaceful and least destabilizing way to keep the peace and build enduring nations. So they went ahead to say that they need to agree on what should be taken out of the Constitution and replace it with what is agreed. There are 30 items in the concurrent list which should be reviewed, and some of the items transferred to the residual list, so that when states have such powers, they are able to pay tax to the federal and they are able to control their resources. We've been talking about this restructuring for a long time, so hopefully the present administration will listen and see how these things can be worked into the Constitution.
Okay. One second.
Inside, I took the city and crime. The government abducted the wife of an Adamawa judge and a 7-year-old. The Adamawa judge was in Yola, and the 7-year-old was in Abuja. For the judge, the wife, sorry, Mrs. Abbas, they went into her house around 2 a.m. and kidnapped her. And then for the 7-year-old, they went into the village. They fired in the air. But when the security people, responded quickly, so they only managed to take the 7-year-old child. Really sad.
Yeah, really sad. Moving on now to the Punch. Subsidy. Tinubu orders Shatima governors to work on salaries and palliatives. 427,962 Nigerians in diaspora get NIN. NNPCL to cut fuel importation from August. Customs uncover 25 duty evading factories in Lagos. XAGF hands over Boko Haram detainees, Mago's cases to Akume. Poor debt reading states give governors jumbo exit package, was a hot topic yesterday. National Assembly Tinubu APC moved to appease anti-zoning members. All right, story are we starting with?
The Lagos Industrial Command of Nigeria Customs Service says it has uncovered over 25 firms producing dutiable goods in Lagos, but which are not on the list of excise-paying factories. So the Customs Area Controller in charge of that command is Queen Ogbudu, and she said that under her watch, she set up a surveillance team, and through that monitoring, she discovered factories that produce dutiable items were not on the list of excise-paying companies. And also, so what she did was to seek the cooperation of all excise duty-paying companies by volunteering information on those who were into production but evading payment. So she says how this affects things and our country and the economy and other parties is that she says duty evading companies will make more profit, sell their products cheaper, then outrun those paying duty from the market while also shortchanging the government. So even for those who are co-producers, you need to keep an eye. So those people are able to win, you in a price, whatever. So it's important to be able to bring them forward. She says that anyways, some of them, they've reached out to a few of them, and some of them were not even aware that they were supposed to pay these duties. But so what will happen is that they will have to pay what they haven't paid plus the new ones, and that's their penalty for
The Nigerian National Petroleum Company, that's NNPCL, confirmed that once the Dangote refinery starts pumping out refined petroleum products from late July or early August, they will cut down their imports on premium motor spirits known as petrol. They said NNPCL is currently the sole importer of petrol in Nigeria. We know that. And it's been a task that they have shouldered on for so many years. And other oil marketers stopped importing because of their inability to access Forex. And that's why it was just NNPC who was importing. But they said they also own 20% stake in the Dangote refinery. And they're going to be having 650 barrels per day crude oil processing refinery. That's the Dangote refinery. So according to Chairman Dangote Group, Atiku Dangote, he said the facility will put an end to inflow of toxic substandard petroleum products in Nigeria, and the refinery will meet 100% of Nigeria's fuel needs. That's one. And, they will start delivering by end of July to August. So they started asking questions that what would happen when he starts pushing out the product. He said, NNPC now replied saying that initially they didn't want to, it would have been better if they were able to, sell crude within Nigeria and, refine in Nigeria. They were exporting crude out of necessity, not because they wanted it. And they've been selling crude to other people. Now that they have somebody that's Dangote Refinery who's willing to buy the crude from them, why would they now be prioritizing other outsiders to Dangote Refinery? They are ready to do business with him. They already have 20% share in whatever he's doing, and hopefully. But there was something I saw a few days back saying that the price may still not be affected even if Dangote is giving us the fuel. And I'm wondering why won't it change? Because we are going to be cutting out all the tariffs, all the exportation fees. We should have
importation fees.
Importation fees. Yeah, we should be able to pay. Yes, it should be cheaper.
People are projecting because as a capitalist, he might not be able to see how that goes.
We disagree with that.
Let's wait for him to.
Madam, we are disagreeing already. It will be cheaper.
Let them produce first. Let us know what
he's already working on it.
Framework is, and then we take it from
Abi,
this thing slapped me as I arrived.
You don't buy?
I buy yesterday. I buy yesterday, but I did 3/4 tank, so now 5,000. I take fill my tank.
Really? Aren't you lucky? We've done 45 here.
Maybe next week. I'm not going anywhere. I just down in my house.
But you will come to work.
Why can't you know you eventually
Can we continue our review, please?
No waka, cockroach waka,
Okay.
only sensible waka.
About 25% of Nigerians living in diaspora have received their NIN. The World Bank has said that we have about 1.7 million Nigerians living in diaspora, and about 1.3, and Nigeria is home to 1.3 million immigrants. Well, I
Only
didn't
1.7.
We have that many? I didn't know we had that many.
No, I thought we're much more than that.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Immigrants in Nigeria, okay. So there are about 427,962 have received their NINs, about 178,000 female and over 249,000 male. And many of you know that without the NIN, Nigerians living in diaspora cannot renew their passports, and they cannot also enroll. They can't even do anything major. Now, NIN is needed for everything. So if you're living abroad, you have to try to, and it's not free enrollment, you have to try to enroll and get the NIN. And then, if you come into Nigeria, as long as you have a valid passport, you also need to get the NIN to renew. So it's really important.
Okay, I wanted to take the 10 poorest states in Nigeria who are owing local and foreign creditors about 1.18 trillion. The Punch has been doing findings. And then the National Bureau of Statistics has obtained the debt from the Debt Management Office that 133 million Nigerians are multidimensionally poor. About 10 states are living in poverty. Most of their population are living in poverty. Sokoto, Bayelsa, Gombe, Jigawa, Plateau were the 5 top poorest states, and Yobe, Kebbi, they were followed by Yobe, Kebbi, Taraba, Ebonyi, and Zamfara. Now,
Matawale State. Matawale.
Zamfara, yes, now.
Matawale. He's been very famous recently.
They are also owing creditors. Meanwhile, their own pension.
Jumbo, we took it yesterday. That was our topic yesterday. The Jumbo.
Did I? Okay, I was out. I missed the show.
So we took it yesterday. Was it interesting? It was very interesting.
Themselves?
Jigawa guy is taking his monthly salary. That one is taking it monthly. Okay. The salary that he left behind, him and the incumbent are earning the same thing. The deputy and the incumbent are earning the same thing. Then they have he has 4 new cars. And can you imagine, every 4 years, the other one has 2 brand new cars.
Okay, we discussed it yesterday. Let us move on. Daily.
I watched the show yesterday. So I read it. I was hey.
We described it as pure wickedness. I think somebody would call it pure wickedness.
Because some people are not even receiving their pension at all.
35 years of service, no pension. You got 8 years and you get all that.
Then you get for life.
Yeah.
Some of them will go from governor, they will go from governor to senator, and then they need the 2 salaries.
Yes. We discussed it yesterday, YK.
I didn't hear the show yesterday.
You're back, YK. Daily Sun, do we have any more time, sir? Look at YK has taken up our time.
We have
FG plans, earn as you work pay policy. NAF takes blame for airstrike killing 39 in Nasarawa. Tribunal, Tinubu INEC opposed testimony by ad hoc staff. Can President slams El-Rufai over comments on same-faith ticket. Tinubu swears in Akumen News SGF. It's an insult to say LP dictating to NLC, says Ajero. And governors back president on subsidy removal. Okay, which story are we taking in Daily Sun?
Can do the major headlines.
Please.
So I think the federal government listened to Miriam yesterday when she was telling us how we can now work for hours and be paid a dip for years. So they said as measures to check arbitrariness in the workplace and to ensure appropriate remuneration for Nigerian workers, the federal government has designed a national pay policy, NPP. The chairman and chief executive officer of National Salaries, Income and Wages Commission, Mr. Ekbo Nta, told Daily Sun in Abuja that the policy will calculate the number of hours a worker spends in the office and the quality of work done, which will determine his remuneration. I know we broke it down how this can also help workers to have multiple jobs and then earn more money.
This was actually in their campaign.
Yeah.
We actually discussed this. I remember that a jury mentioned it. They plan to have this, it's based on the pay as you go. I said, but go ahead.
Yeah. So they said that, for example, for fresh appointments in government, you know that you work for like 35 years or at age 60, and then whichever comes first, you know that you must leave the system when that time comes. So they're going to be putting in place some of these policies to make sure that you earn your salary at a particular time that you work. That's the same hourly, more like hourly pay.
Right.
And I don't know how it's going to work for government workers, but I think it's something that we all have to just look into and see how people
We'll see how it works. I think it's also helped because there are lots of lost hours. Many of us we don't do anything. So you can actually be more productive for yourself. So if you give government 4 or 5 hours a day and
go somewhere else
and do something else, you know, so I think eventually it will play out.
With the cost of fuel and transportation, I would rather know that I'm coming to spend these hours in the office on particular days and save myself the money for transportation and fuel.
Exactly.
Other things.
Yeah, so we'll see how it goes. All right, the president of the Nigerian Labour Congress, Mr. Joe Ajero, has condemned claims that the Labour Party is sponsoring the union to embark on industrial action over the subsidy removal. If you recall, he was saying that that he was informed that NLC, they said that there was Labour that was pushing was the one pushing NLC to start the planned strike, and he said that's such an insult. And he said that LP would have faced some opposition from NLC if it had unilaterally opted to deregulate and the end of fuel subsidy regime. So remember, he was being accused that why are you planning to go on strike when the candidates of Labour also had planned to remove subsidy? He said that he would have done exactly the same thing. That the NLC is for the people and not Labour Party is a party and is separate. And he would have done exactly the same thing. And if the LP, if the presidential candidate of the LP had been president, he would have done exactly the same thing. Okay, moving on now to Vanguard. Unpaid gratuities, pensions, wages choke states. Subsidy removal, Tinubu directs NEC to work on palliatives. After meeting Tinubu, oil marketers declare support for fuel subsidy removal. 2023, scheming conspiracy polarized Akeredolu's cabinet. Islamization, El Rufai only seeking relevance. Ignore him, says Khan. It's not in Tinubu's interest to impose leadership on 10th National Assembly, says NEF. And Senate, I am not bothered about rubber stamp tag, says Lawan. Okay, which story?
We have Human Rights Watch saying that the Nigerian Air Force finally claimed responsibility for the January 2023 fatal airstrike on Kawatiri community in Nasarawa State, which killed no fewer than 39 people. The Mieti Allah Cattle Breeders Association of Nigeria, MACBAN, said the airstrike occurred after the herders went to reclaim 1,250 of their cows impounded by the Benue Livestock Guards. But the state governor initially, Abdullahi Sule, said the explosion in Kwatiri was not carried out by the Nigerian Air Force, yes, that no airplane flew through the area. The bombing was done by those who they are trying to still, drone, and they were trying to still identify them. But after 6 months, the HRW said the military's delay in owning up to what actually happened was more compounded the tragedy for the attack. But they are calling on the Nigerian Air Force to provide financial compensation to the victims and the bereaved families, since finally they have owned up that it happened because they were trying to, according to them, they said they got intelligence that there were insurgents around the area and they wanted to, sort of fight them. But then it happened, it was a mistake, it was an accident, and lives were lost. But they are asking now that you must compensate those families and, help them go through the period.
After meeting Tinubu, oil marketers declared support for fuel subsidy removal. So the Depots and Petroleum Products Marketers Association of Nigeria, called DAPMAN, they had a meeting with the president yesterday on the removal of fuel subsidy. The association chairperson, Dame Winifred Akpani, who made the disclosure at the end of the meeting, said that the association will support the government palliative measures, will support the government's removal of subsidy, but also providing palliative measures. And they're saying they will provide between 50 and 100 mass transit buses as their own contribution towards the subsidy removal. I love the way this story
Yeah,
is
it seems like we're working together.
He said the buses will be locally manufactured and would use compressed natural gas as fuel. We pledge our support for the president in a bold decision of removing petrol subsidy. It is an idea that was long overdue. And then she goes ahead to say that, see, this removal of subsidy was not about making fuel costly. It was that it's about getting it right on the issue of subsidy. She says those that were enjoying the subsidy were those that did not need, that was not meant for. And so this is a bold step that the president has taken. She also said that substitutes to petrol as well. So they spoke to the president about substitutes to petrol as well as creating an environment conducive for investment to thrive in the oil sector. She just, she's just saying that this is a good thing that's happened. It will just open us up to even more opportunities to do other
I'm really happy that IPAN feels that, because they are usually a major, they always have a major opposition and push back on this. But I hope they're also prepared that hopefully if the president opens up more licenses and more marketers are coming in, so they won't become the independent anymore. There'll be lots of them. I mean, I'm hoping
it's better for us.
There's a lot of, what I'm hearing is that almost all the meetings, when they come out of it, they are quite positive.
Yeah,
and hopeful that something is going to be better.
I wonder what happened.
Quickly give their...
I was going
to... the scheming, they're trying to scheme in those states. There's conspiracy to polarize Akredelu's cabinet. They said the deputy governor, the Lokiade Ayedatiwa, sorry, I won't say their names, not disgrace myself. The secretary to the state government, Oladuni, and the finance commissioner are all quarreling to succeed Akredolu. Apparently, he's supposed to be really ill, but some of the commissioners now are now lining behind the three.
So the executive council is divided. They're all camping behind one person. So some are coming behind the deputy governor, others behind the SSG, others behind the commissioner for finance.
Everybody has their candidate.
Is that this protracted illness does not mean he's dead. He's not yet dead. But there's a possibility that he might resign because of his illness. Now, when that happens, I thought automatically the
deputy should take over.
I mean, that is what they taught us in political science 101. Suddenly, commissioners are scheming.
SSGs are scheming.
I don't understand where that comes in.
I don't understand. And
politics has changed.
They said the rumor even escalated when the deputy governor visited the governor.
Yes.
So he must have come out to say,
man is ill.
The man don't die, yo.
Let us position ourselves.
He's still alive. He's alive, but I'm just...
But shouldn't he just resign now?
The deputy governor has denied all that, said that he still spoke to him.
We have to run.
When he saw him and he signed checks and everything.
We have to run. So that's all we can take on this life. We'll see based on those reports we got. I mean, we're just speaking based on the reports. We don't even know the real state of how things are in the room. Let's go on a break. When we come back, move on to our segment, sponsor segment. Stay with us. We'll be right back.
Stay tuned. Your View will be right back.